A young boy is dining at a restaurant when his chair unexpectedly begins to lift off the ground. His mother quickly holds it down with her leg. The boy, Bongseok, has a strange ability. Whenever he gets emotional, his body becomes lighter, causing him to float. His mother, Lee Hyun, keeps this power hidden from the world. She moves them to a secluded location and rents a large, empty property from the owner, offering a large sum and asking him not to return for 3 years. She wants her son to grow up in isolation, away from curious eyes. There, Lee Hyun helps Bongseok train to control his floating. Years pass and they eventually move again, this time opening a restaurant. Though Bongseok longs to play with other kids, he's kept away from them. One day he sneaks out and visits a playground. A crowd is cheering on a boy jumping from a tall metal structure. Inspired, Bongseok climbs up, jumps, and floats in the air, shocking the kids below. A strange older man watches silently from a black car. The next day, Bongseok's teacher tells his mother that another student got injured trying to copy his jump. Angry, Lee Hyun scolds her son for revealing his powers, reminding him that a true hero protects others' feelings. That night, Bongseok cries alone on the rooftop. As he gets emotional, he starts floating into the sky. Fortunately, he grabs a nearby cable, and his mother arrives just in time to save him. Years later, Bongseok wakes from a dream. His mother feeds him a heavy meal to keep him grounded and even packs weights in his school bag. On the way to school, he sees a girl running to catch the bus. He feels an instant attraction. She's Heesoo, a girl from a poor family who can't even pay the fare. Bongseok covers it for her. Sitting near her on the bus, he gets emotional and starts to lift off the floor, but quickly focuses on the digits of pi to regain control. At school, he drinks excessive water to increase his weight, knowing Heesoo is now his classmate. The weights his mother gave him are no longer enough. His emotions around Heesoo are stronger than ever. Heesoo wears a different school uniform, revealing she's a transfer student. During her introduction, she sits near Bongseok, and once again he loses focus. Their teacher, Mr. Choi, suggests Heesoo focus on athletics since she performs well physically. The class president, Gang Hoon, escorts her to the gym. He later asks Mr. Choi if she could study other subjects too, but Mr. Choi insists that Heesoo's best chance is a sports scholarship since her father can't afford extra tuition. The next morning, it rains heavily. Both Bongseok and Heesoo are late to school and rush to the gate. She bumps into him, causing him to briefly float before hitting the ground and injuring his knee. As punishment, the teacher makes them clean the bathrooms after class. In class, Heesoo thinks she smells bad and asks Bongseok for a spare shirt. He gives it to her, and she goes to change. Meanwhile, Gang-hoon secretly watches her walk to the restroom. Another boy, Ki-soo, also seems interested in her, but Gang-hoon stops him. Ki-soo gets angry and challenges him to a fight in the woods. Though calm at first, Gang-hoon easily overpowers Ki-soo. He too has powers. After the fight, he drags the injured boy away. Later, Bongseok and Heesoo eat lunch together. He sees the bruised Ki-soo walking by and wants to ask what happened, but Heesoo tells him not to interfere. After lunch, they clean the bathrooms. Heesoo applies ointment to Bongseok's knee injury, triggering his emotions again. He tries to focus on Pi, but he starts floating as soon as she leaves the room. At their restaurant, Bongseok's mother is busy serving customers. Meanwhile, Heesoo's father, Jung-jun, runs a failing chicken shop with no sales. That night, he eats the food himself to pretend to Heesoo that he had a good day. She tells him she's training hard for a sports scholarship so he won't have to overwork. Elsewhere, a man named Frank arrives in town disguised as a delivery driver. Inside his van is a hit list. He's hunting people with powers. He confronts one of his targets, an old man named Jun-hyun, who puts up a strong fight. But Frank heals rapidly and eventually defeats him, tossing him from a tall building. Lee Hyun sees the news about this strange death and notices a delivery van nearby. She prepares her weapons, suspecting danger. When Lee Hyun visits the crime scene, she spots another delivery man. It's Jung-jun, Heesoo's father. Meanwhile, Frank moves on to his next target, a man who can control electricity. Frank cuts the power and fights him. The man uses a battery as a backup energy source, but once it runs out, Frank kills him and burns down the library. He finds a photo of the man's son, who once studied at Bongseok school. Frank then scopes out the school but gets kicked out by the guard, who later reports the suspicious man and installs cameras at the gate. Bongseok notices the bus driver has changed, but still rides to school. He again sees Heesoo running in the rain. That day, Heesoo practices on the track, and Bongseok secretly turns on the lights to help her. Mr. Choi later teaches her how to jump and throw during practice. Because of this, she misses dinner, so Bongseok shares his food. Mr. Choi tells Gang-hoon to turn on the gym fans for Heesoo. Gang-hoon watches her train, and Bongseok also arrives. When Heesoo slips and falls during a jump, Bongseok flies to catch her but falls himself. Gang-hoon sees everything and now knows Bongseok's secret. Later, Heesoo asks Bongseok to help with her workout. But when she touches him during sit-ups, he starts floating again. He tries focusing on Pi, but being close to her overwhelms him. He floats and crashes far away. Heesoo helps him up just as a cleaner enters. They quickly leave. Gang-hoon, watching everything, grows jealous and punches a wall using his strength. The next day, Heesoo questions Bongseok about his powers, but he avoids answering. She tricks him into retrieving her shoes from the gym and follows him. As they sit on the stairs, she touches his knee wound. Bongseok floats again, this time without his weighted bag. She calms him by hugging him, but it only intensifies his feelings. Their moment is caught on the school's CCTV. Heesoo helps him reach home by pulling him down every time he floats. Lee Hyun welcomes her warmly. It's the first time Bongseok has brought a friend over. She prepares a large meal for them. Heesoo tells her dad she'll be home late. Meanwhile, Jang Jun gets his first delivery order to the same mobile shop where Frank was earlier. After dinner, Bongseok shows Heesoo his foam-covered room, designed by his mom to keep him safe from floating accidents. Heesoo flirts with him, knowing his feelings, and he floats to the ceiling again. She gives him a heavy item to bring him back down and confesses she likes him too. Lee Hyun senses what happened between them but doesn't interrupt. She even encourages her son to escort Heesoo home. Bongseok sheds extra weight to fly and catch up to her. He finds her at the bus stop and walks her home. Meanwhile, Frank visits an elderly barber, his next target. He pretends to get a haircut but ends up fighting her. She stabs him in the head with scissors, but he heals quickly. She can see through walls, but Frank eventually defeats and kills her, vowing to find her children at her funeral. Jang Jun arrives at that same building to deliver food, narrowly missing Frank. The next day, Bongseok tells his mother he's going to extra classes, but instead he meets Heesoo at the gym. They see a mysterious handprint on the wall, and Heesoo suspects it's his. He denies it. Curious, Bongseok asks how she accepted his power so easily. She responds that she has a secret too. Heesoo reveals that she was transferred during her senior year, which is unusual. Bongseok guesses she was involved in a fight, and he's right. In a flashback, we see her and her father living alone after her mother's death. At her old school, bullies tormented a rich girl. After the girl reported them, they tried to threaten her with a knife. When Heesoo saw this, she stepped in and fought them. One girl bit her, another cut her with a knife, but Heesoo's wounds healed instantly. Shocked by her healing, the bullies were all defeated. The next day, Heesoo was expelled. Since she had no visible injuries, the school blamed her. Her father sold their home to pay the medical bills of the injured girls. When she asked him why she healed so fast, he revealed she inherited a gift, something her mother wanted to keep secret. Back in the present, Heesoo explains that the old man watching Bongseok earlier is the principal, Jo Deok. He offered her admission at Bongseok's school despite her past. The next morning, Jang Jun returns to the mobile shop for payment and finds it surrounded by authorities. Another superhuman is dead, and the National Intelligence Service is now involved. Mr. Min is informed of the deaths and suspects a foreign agency, possibly the CIA, is eliminating gifted individuals. Meanwhile, Principal Jo Rae-hyuk reports back to his superior about the secret mission he's been running, the National Talent Development Project. He's been gathering children with special abilities in one school, explaining why we've already seen several powered students there. Mr. Min, however, warns him about the recent targeted killings of retired agents, suspecting that their children might now be enrolled at Jo Rae-hyuk's school. He urges the principal to be extra careful. The next day, Frank attends the funeral of the elderly barber he previously killed, hoping to uncover clues about her biological child. He finds no useful leads. Another attendee is Chotak, the son of the electric man Frank killed earlier. Chotak shares his father's electric manipulation powers. Frank leaves the funeral and we're taken into Chotak's backstory. He's now a bus driver, but his childhood was difficult. His powers surfaced early in school, and he was later transferred to Jo Rae-hyuk's academy. There, Mr. Choi encouraged him to pursue sports, despite Chotak having no natural interest. After graduation, Mr. Choi surprisingly pushed him toward a media major instead. Eventually, Chotak auditioned for a children's superhero show called Bangun, where he impressed producers using his powers. He quickly rose to fame until a live show incident where his glove tore, unleashing sparks. The frightened children led to his forced resignation. Later, while eating at a restaurant, he noticed a bus driver struggling with a dead battery. Using his electric power, Chotak revived the engine. Impressed, the man who owned the bus company offered Chotak a job, and since then he's been driving the school bus, and he regularly meets Bongseok on his morning route. Now Chotak is grieving and angry over his father's murder. His boss suggests he take some time off, but Chotak insists on continuing work to stay distracted. Back at school, Heesoo returns after recovering from a brutal beating by Ganghoon. A new transfer student arrives, Shin Hae-won, the rich girl Heesoo once defended. During lunch, she joins Bongseok and Heesoo and quickly befriends them. A student vlogger then stirs things up by reporting on tensions between Heesoo and Ganghoon. Soon after, Heesoo throws his leftovers into Ganghoon's food and drops his glasses in it, mocking him publicly. Heesoo taunts Ganghoon, claiming he's not brave enough to retaliate in front of others, and vows to expose him. Bongseok retrieves the glasses and cleans them. Heesoo returns them and praises Ganghoon for not reacting violently, saying his restraint was the right choice. Touched by her words, Ganghoon quietly thanks her and leaves the gym for her to use alone. At the NIS, Mr. Min's secretary confirms the worst. The CIA is behind the recent killings of retired agents. Mr. Min requests a meeting with the US ambassador. Back in the gym, Bongseok and Heesoo share a quiet moment. As he plays music for her, they get closer. To prevent him from floating, she places weights on him. Bongseok leaves his phone playing music and heads to class, but returns later to find it dead. Remembering his mom's warning never to let his phone die, he panics and hurries home. On the bus, Bongseok runs into Chotak and tells him how much he missed seeing him drive the bus. Elsewhere, Frank receives his next kill order. His new target is Bongseok's mother, Lee Hyun. Meanwhile, Ganghoon returns home to his father, who is also gifted but currently on house arrest. Jang Jun, Heesoo's father, buys her a new phone. At the restaurant, Lee Hyun notices Frank enter and recognizes him from crime scene photos. She texts Bongseok to stay away, but with his phone dead, he never sees the message and enters the restaurant. Lee Hyun pretends Bongseok is just another customer and seats him while hiding her gun beneath her apron. Frank chats with Bongseok about school. Meanwhile, at NIS, the US ambassador meets with Mr. Min. At first, he denies involvement, but Mr. Min presents evidence. The ambassador admits they sent Frank and is warned to call him off or risk conflict with China. Back at the restaurant, just as Frank finishes his meal and prepares to act, he gets a message from the ambassador to stand down. He pays the bill and leaves. Lee Hyun scolds Bongseok harshly for ignoring her warning. He explains his phone died, but she isn't ready to listen. When Bongseok asks about the strange man, she stays silent. In his van, Frank receives a new order from the ambassador. He's playing both sides. The next target? Chotak. Frank makes a sudden U-turn and nearly crashes into Chotak's bus. Recognizing Frank as his father's killer, Chotak begins chasing him. He rams his bus into Frank's van, forcing him into a forest. There, Frank ambushes him and slams his van into the bus. Chotak grabs a charged battery and uses his powers to attack, furious and determined. But Frank is too strong. As the battery depletes, Chotak becomes helpless. Frank beats him and leaves him unconscious. Frank then heads to Jang Jun's shop, but he isn't there. He sees a delivery receipt on the table and rushes off in pursuit. Frank slams his van into Jang's bike, then runs him over several times. Believing the job is done, Frank texts his superior, but Jang, a gifted healer, survives. He smashes the van's window and drags Frank out. Inside the van, he finds a file listing all of Frank's targets, retired agents with special powers. Frank regains consciousness, and the two begin fighting. Both heal rapidly, but this time Jang gets the upper hand, punching Frank repeatedly until he appears lifeless. Jang then burns the van, documents, and presumably Frank's body. Back at his restaurant, Jang casually eats dinner, still covered in blood but fully healed. The next morning, Lee Hyun gives Bongseok a power bank and tells him to always stay in contact. She asks him to come straight home after class. At school, when Heesoo asks for his help in the gym, Bongseok declines. He's now focused on studying. As the exams draw near, Heesoo practices alone without bothering him. The night before the exam, Heesoo texts Bongseok, wishing him luck. He smiles as he reads it. She then tells him to look out the window. She's standing far away, waving. Bongseok, who shares his mother's sharp senses, sees her clearly. He leaps from his window and lands next to her. Heesoo thanks him for always being there and lifts a heavy stone into his lap to keep him grounded. She finally confesses she likes him too. As snow begins to fall, the two share a quiet, romantic moment. The next day is the sports exam. Bongseok and Ganghoon play badminton while Heesoo practices high jump. Each of her jumps causes the frame to loosen, and eventually, when she jumps her highest, the frame collapses. The heavy structure falls toward her. Both Ganghoon and Bongseok rush to help, but Bongseok is too heavy and slow. Ganghoon makes it in time and saves her. The moment is caught on camera by a vlogger student, and everyone is stunned by Ganghoon's speed. The video goes viral. Some viewers think it's fake, others believe it's a superhuman feat. Mr. Min is furious. It threatens to expose their entire project. Lee Hyun and Jang Joon also watch the video. Bongseok, feeling helpless for not being able to save Heesoo, begins intense flight training. When his mother checks on him, he's not in his room. She finds him outside, failing over and over as he tries to fly. Seeing her, he falls again. When she asks what he's doing, he explains that he wants to be free and capable. He blames her for holding him back his whole life. Moved, Lee Hyun tearfully reveals that his father also had the ability to fly, but it didn't end well for him. For the first time, Bongseok learns about his father. He remembers his childhood dream of flying wasn't a dream, it was a memory. Years ago, his father, Kim Do-sik, was flying alongside an airplane and reached the cockpit to warn the pilots about a bomb, but they didn't understand him. The bomb exploded, and Kim, devastated, watched lives be lost. He had worked for the National Intelligence Service as a top agent with powers. Lee Hyun worked there too, in intelligence. One day, Mr. Min assigned Lee Hyun a mission. Though she had sharp instincts and was the youngest graduate in her unit, she had failed a prior mission. During a previous assignment at a public event, she was supposed to detonate a smoke grenade to isolate a traitor. Instead, she triggered a high-frequency device that disrupted her team's attack and helped civilians escape. Despite disobeying orders, it showed her moral compass. Knowing her abilities, Mr. Min gave her one more task: to get close to Kim Do-sik, gain his trust, and extract confidential information. From the next day on, Lee Hyun began appearing frequently in Kim's path, by the elevator near the coffee machine or in the parking lot. Kim noticed her and grew curious. One day, at the coffee machine, they finally spoke. From there, their interactions became frequent. Kim helped her carry documents and even escorted her to her desk. Their bond slowly began to grow. Kim Do-sik and Miss Lee Hyun begin spending more time together over coffee. One day, Kim reveals he knows she's been spying on him all along. He noticed she always carried the same files, which made him suspicious. Still, he chose to act normal because he genuinely liked her. With her mission now exposed, Miss Lee Hyun faces backlash from her boss, but Kim invites her to dinner instead, where they share a massive donut together. The next day, by the coffee machine, she confesses the hardest part of her mission was drinking coffee she didn't even like, just to stay close to him. She decides to confess her failure to her superior, Mr. Min, but Kim stops her. He reveals he had seen her long before their official meeting, during a failed mission involving traitors where she helped innocent people escape. He admired her ever since. Now he wants her to continue pretending to spy on him so he can funnel information to Mr. Min and protect her from punishment. Later, Mr. Min summons Lee Hyun and shows her some confidential tapes she knows nothing about. When asked about her mission, she lies, saying she's getting closer to Kim but hasn't discovered any secrets yet. Mr. Min, unsure of what he's even looking for, tells her to keep going, convinced Kim is hiding something exceptional. After the meeting, she gives fashion and coffee-making advice to Mr. Min's secretary, who appreciates the tips. That night, while Lee Hyun is working alone, she hears whispers. Looking out the window, she's shocked to see Kim Do-sik floating at 5th-story height. He brings her donuts and reveals his secret: he can fly. After sharing the food, he flies off. Lee Hyun, who also has special abilities, removes her glasses and watches him with her enhanced vision from afar. Kim Do-sik, meanwhile, is seen at a shooting range, showing off his precision, targeting exact points to disable enemies without killing them. His assistant, Juwan, is stunned by his accuracy. Later, Kim waits for Lee Hyun at her office. As he waits, his heart races, something she notices with her sensory skills. She reveals her gift: the ability to detect and mimic others' physical signals, including heartbeats. Their emotional connection peaks as they kiss, and Kim floats mid-air in the moment. The next morning, Mr. Min again calls in Lee Hyun for a status update. Even though she now knows Kim's secret, she lies and claims she's still investigating. Surprisingly, Mr. Min doesn't react harshly and tells her the mission is over. But in truth, he already knows everything. He's been surveilling Kim since the failed traitor mission and is aware both Kim and Lee Hyun defied his orders to save lives. To Mr. Min, humanity doesn't matter if it conflicts with the mission. Later, Mr. Min discusses Lee Hyun's lies with another senior agent. His secretary overhears and tips off Lee Hyun out of gratitude for her earlier kindness. Suspicious, Lee Hyun checks her surroundings and finds hidden cameras at her desk and even in the coffee machine. Soon after, Mr. Min confronts her, strips her of her credibility, and demotes her. That night, Kim Do-sik watches her from afar, but doesn't approach, knowing they're being watched. The next day, news breaks at the agency. The president of North Korea is dead. It quickly goes viral across the country. Newspapers report it as a heart attack, but Mr. Min knows there's more to the story. He's furious with his agents for disobeying orders and suspects Kim Do-sik is behind the assassination, especially since he's vanished without a trace. Mr. Min orders agents to monitor Miss Lee Hyun and begin a nationwide search for Kim. A few days later, on a stormy night, Miss Lee Hyun is at home when Kim Do-sik suddenly appears at her window. After days of absence, he's finally back. Overwhelmed, she rushes to hug him, but she's unaware that she's being watched. Though they invite Juwan to celebrate, he refuses to join forces with the enemy and walks out. Outside, Juwan meets a man named M, who invites him for his favorite meal and even calls Juwan's boss to join. M pretends he wants to resolve tensions, but secretly drugs their drinks. Juwan wakes up tied in a car alongside his boss. The gang leader reveals everything. The boss willingly allied with the gang, and M betrayed them both by drugging their drinks. With a final push, they drive the car into a lake. Underwater, Juwan dislocates his thumb to escape the handcuffs, unties himself, and swims out. He returns to the casino, kills the gangster, and finds M begging for his life. Juwan spares him, but scars his cheek with the broken handcuff. Then, he walks away. In the present, Mr. Min visits M, now known as the Monster, who recounts Juwan's story. M then takes Mr. Min to meet him. Meanwhile, Juwan is living in a motel, only leaving his room when he needs to pay rent. To make money, he throws himself in front of cars and fakes injuries, blackmailing drivers to avoid police trouble. One day, he notices a woman named Ji-hee delivering coffee to the motel rooms. He sees someone mistreat her but doesn't intervene. Later, while pulling the same car accident scam, the driver speeds off. Juwan chases him, yelling threats. Ji-hee arrives on her scooter and offers help. Juwan declines but asks for directions to the nearest police station. She shows him the way, but he soon forgets and ends up lost. He breaks down crying on the street and Ji-hee passes by again. This time, she takes him with her. Smitten, Juwan returns to his room, shaves, and calls the coffee shop hoping Ji-hee will deliver. But another woman shows up. He drinks the coffee, calls again, and still, Ji-hee doesn't come. On his third try, she finally delivers it. Overjoyed, Juwan invites her in, pays her just to sit and talk, and asks her to return next time he orders. Ji-hee finds him strange but agrees. Back at the cafe, Ji-hee tells her boss that Juwan is clearly into her. The boss decides to send Ji-hee on all future deliveries to him. They begin to bond over long conversations, and Juwan spends all his money just to see her. One day, while Ji-hee is delivering coffee to a room, a group of men harasses her. Juwan hears her cries and smashes through the wall to rescue her. Despite being hit with a bottle, he stays calm and defeats the group. He hides their bodies and warns the motel owner to keep quiet. She agrees, too scared to argue. Later, Juwan calls Ji-hee to tell her to be more careful, but the gang returns, seeking revenge. They ambush him, and despite the brutal assault and weapons, Juwan fights them all, over 100 men, by himself. Meanwhile, M watches from a car outside and shows Mr. Min what Juwan is capable of. When Juwan spots him, he throws a bat straight into M's windshield, barely missing his face. More gang members chase Juwan through the city streets. Mr. Min, impressed, orders Kim Do-sik to recruit Juwan. Meanwhile, Ji-hee recovers from her injuries and learns about the attack on Juwan. Worried, she rushes to find him and sees him being chased by goons. She speeds toward him on her scooter, shouting that she's his girlfriend. Juwan, hesitant at first, hops on, and they escape the city. Suddenly, a van slams into their scooter. Juwan shields Ji-hee with his body. He stands up furious and charges at the van, smashes the windshield, grabs the wheel, and hurls the vehicle into a nearby valley. At that moment, M appears and points a gun at him. Just as he's about to fire, M is shot in the head by Kim Do-sik, who hovers mid-air. Later, Juwan joins the NIS and works under Kim Do-sik, following all his orders. He visits Ji-hee and they get married. Their daughter, Juwan, is born. But tragedy strikes when Ji-hee dies in a road accident. Yet she smiles in her final moments, seeing her daughter using healing powers. Juwan takes on the role of a loving father and begins a new chapter with his daughter, building a happy life together.